folks, and welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host PBO, and you're joining me on another edition of Westworld. What the bleep? We're all the way up to episode 4, the Riddle of the Sphinx. Now, like every week, I'd like to break it down where I like to give you a little introduction, give you a little timelines, tell you where everything is, and break down the timelines. Well, the more and more deeper we've gotten to this season, the less they've actually given us of each character, and we've actually starting to get episodes now where it's only certain timelines that they're showing. So I will go over those timelines, but I wanted to start off by doing the whole timelines at the beginning, and I've actually changed up a little bit. I've broken each timeline down into each individual person, hopefully to explain just a little better, maybe, and to help explain what's going on with this season in Westworld. So without further ado, what the bleep? Let's go to the timelines, guys. Alright guys, so we're on the little timelines. I want to do this first so I can just establishment, show you where everybody is. Now this will show you some spoilers for this episode, but I'm assuming you've already watched this and just kind of want a little review of what's going on. As you can notice, I got little timelines everywhere. So let's start with the Dolores and Teddy timeline. Now Dolores and Teddy are not in this episode, but let's just show you where they are, where we left them off last time. So you get to see now, I've broken it down more. Westworld into season 1, and then I got Dolores and Teddy taking out host and guest. They were on the rampage. They find the door to the Westworld back office, and that's when they go inside, and they go in there, and they capture the humans, and she's showing Teddy the stuff. Maeve and Dolores cross paths. That was a great moment of the reunion when they finally crossed paths. And then Dolores meets Major Craddock. That's the Confederate. She turned into a zombie and took over. They had the big battle of Delios versus the Confederale soldiers. She ends up losing her father, Peter Abernathy, and she tells Teddy at the end of that, they're going to go to Sweetwater. So we have no idea what they're doing, but they're on the way to Sweetwater. So that's where we leave them last. Now let's go to the Maeve timeline, since we also don't get Maeve in this one. Maeve is at the end of season 1, like we got. Maeve gets Lee. She picks up Lee. Maeve gets Hector. Maeve and Dolores cross paths, which we all know about. Hector, Lee, and Maeve, whoo boy, cross the river, and this is when they run into the Native Americans and almost have their little fun. Then Maeve picks up Felix, Armistead, and Sylvester and collects them all. And now they're heading to Shogun. And I don't know if you guys have seen the trailer for next week, but episode 5 looks like it's going to take place all in Shogun. So I don't even know if we're going to get any Dolores and Teddy. It might be a complete Maeve episode because she's going to show us a new world. I feel like she's really detached from this season, and she's just more of like the world shower. So that's Maeve's timeline. So let's go to the big stuff. So the Man in Black. The Man in Black, he actually is moving around a little bit. So the Man in Black, he is reborn after the end of last season. He picks up Loris. They go to one town. All the hosts kill themselves on Ford's orders that he tries to collect to create an army out of. They end up in Lawrencetown this time. They get ambushed by the same Major that got double-crossed by Miss Dolores, Major Craddock. And then at the end, we get the giant reveal where the Man in Black meets up with his daughter, Grace. Woo! We will get to that and show you how we get there. And then the big one. This is the Bernard timeline, guys. Alright, so this is probably the hardest one to follow. There are 2 separate Bernard timelines, and that's what you got to remember. There is the current timeline where Bernard washes up on shore, takes the new mercenaries and Delio security, and Robert, not Robert, dang on, doggone, I can't remember his name, the director of operations, Scott I think it is, or something of that nature, still forgot. They end up going there and fighting all the hosts dead in the water, and then Carl, it's got it right here. It says Carl right here in my knucklehead. Bernard and Carl meet up with Charlotte later on, and this is after Charlotte's gone through her whole thing. So that's the current timeline, and it leaves it right there because Bernard goes into one of his memories. Now let's go for where Bernard is at the end of season 1. Bernard and Charlotte are on the run together. Bernard gets captured at this point by the Confederates and gets taken to where Dolores is in the big battle. After he gets taken from the big battle, he helps fix Dolores, and he helps Dolores help to fix Peter Abernathy. At the same time, he tries to escape, and he gets taken by Clementine, and she takes us to Elsie, and Elsie is alive, and that's where we are at this episode. Woo! So there you go, folks. That's a little catch-up on the timelines, each one broken down. Hope that explained it. If not, what the bleep, Westworld? Alright, so I'm going to start off in the Man in Black's timeline. In the Man in Black this episode, him and Lawrence end up going to Lawrence's hometown. They actually first passed some Asian men, I don't know if they're Chinese or not, and they are building a railroad. and they're using old host bodies to build the actual bottoms of the railroads for the tracks. So that's some weird, freaky stuff. So that just shows that these storylines have played out very far, and now some real wild and crazy stuff is happening. So that's going on. But we get to Lawrence's town. Now, I'm going to be honest. This is the one timeline that I'm really not having that much fun with. Actually, there's two of them, him or Maeve. But Maeve is showing us new worlds, so I feel like they're using Maeve as a device to show us the new worlds throughout this park, and that's what her design is. Man in Black, I know he's on a redemption, but him going down to Lawrence's town and feeling sorry for Lawrence and his robot human people that might be killed because of this major, none of that hits for me. Now that I know that these people are not actual humans and they're hosts, it's kind of hard to get emotionally attached to these things when I know that they're just hosts and they're going to be reprogrammed or killed and nothing's really going to change about anything. The story doesn't change, nothing changes. They're just inanimate objects. So for me to feel sorry for them while they're doing this whole to-do with Men in Black and making them remember what it's like to have a wife and daughter and caring for them, like, I don't get, none of that hits for me. It doesn't matter. So I really kind of skipped past a lot of that. I watched it, but I rewatched it, and it just doesn't hit for me. So the most I get out of that is he double crosses Lawrence. At the end of the day, no matter what, he ends up helping Lawrence again, and now him and Lawrence and his cousins are back off on their mission again, going west to find this thing that he created. And that's the whole thing. Nothing else has changed about Man in Black's timeline. It's just like they put things in his way so that he has more to do, because in reality, he should already be west by now, and I think they're trying to slow him down. And that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I really don't feel like a lot came out of that. I know they showed his wife's death, but I feel like a lot of it was just to slow him down so that he doesn't beat everybody to this thing that he created, and I'm assuming they want him to all converge at the same time at some point and have some craziness. So that's what I feel like they're doing with him. I do still like that Ford pops in and out of these hosts and are still messing with him and flat out tell him, no, just one single good deed's not going to redeem everything you've done. And I love that whole line, and I thought that was great. But the Man in Black is a much to do about nothing, and he just kind of moves forward in the plot. So that's where I have with him. Where we do get greatness is, which I'll add at the end. So we get these scenes where we get to meet up again with the young lady that we saw that escaped from the world of India and then almost got killed by the tiger and then gets taken away by the Native Americans. She gets captured and taken away by these Native Americans, and she's taken over there with Stubbs. And now we get to see where Stubbs is before we see him where Bernard washes up on shore and he meets Bernard. We get to meet Stubbs before all that. So Stubbs is captured just like the rest, and we also get to meet the funny couple from season 1 where the guy and wife went on that mission and they're real scared and they're all tied up and freaked out. I like that. I like that little callback. But what you start to understand about her is she knows all the different languages, and Stubbs goes, "You know that?" She goes, "Yeah, I like to learn the little dialects that no one else pays attention to." That clicked in my brain on something. Not at that point, but right before that point, when there was another moment that happens in another timeline and he was asking about his granddaughter, that's when I knew that Grace was the Man in Black's daughter, because she was just too intelligent. The next time we see her, Stubbs, and everybody are getting taken out to bathe this river, and looks like they're going to be executed. She ends up escaping and running away, and then the Native Americans don't do anything to these people. They just leave them there. It's all the humans. They kill all the hosts, but they leave all the humans, and they go away. The reason for this is Ford. Ford is controlling these Native Americans. He still got something in there that is controlling them. I don't know if he's alive. We'll get back to that in a second. But he's definitely still controlling them. So he's allowing the humans to go free. He's capturing them and letting them free because most of those people were just guests and normal people and Stubbs who never did anything wrong. All the hosts are being taken out because it's kind of like iRobot, where the third generation of robots are taking out the first and second generation of robots, the ones that help everybody. They want to systematically take them out so they can control the narrative on the robots that are alive and that they have full dominance of them. Some weird stuff, what the Bleep Westworld. So that definitely shows us. But the great reveal at the end of this whole episode is her riding up on a horse after all of this stuff and her getting free and her saying, "Hello, Dad." So there you go. This young lady is Grace, is Man in Black William's daughter. So that right there just proved to me the Man in Black is dying this season. Because now his daughter is there, and she is one tough hombre, we'll just call it like that. And I fully believe she's going to take over for the Man in Black's throne, and she already knows a lot of things are going on. Remember, we saw her with a little book and a map, so there's definitely more to her than we know, and I feel like she's going to take the mantle where the Man in Black is, because he's weathered and old, and he's seen his time, so I feel like she's going to take over for them. So that's where we get on their little stuff. Now we're going to get into the fun throwback time traveling thing that connects to the bigger story, which we'll get to in a second. So we're going to kick to that right now. Alright guys, so we get a fun, cool throwback timeline in this one, and it really centers around this throwback timeline. It even comes back to whips around to another timeline and ends on that. And that's the James Delios and William timeline. So we meet James Delios, and he is in this room. And he's in this room, and we get to watch his daily activities. Him drinking, him, just running and going crazy, listening to music. We know it's James Delios. We have no idea what he's doing in this room. Out of nowhere, a young William arrives, and he goes, "About time." And William shows up with a big bottle of scotch or whiskey, and they sit down and they have this conversation, and they're discussing why he's in there and if he can get out, and he thinks he's healthy and different things of that nature. William hands him this piece of paper, and then it cuts away. We have no idea. The next time we go back to him, we watch James Delios again go through his same routine. Now, if you do notice, the first time that James Delios goes through his routine, when he gets to his cream for his coffee, his hand's shaking. He's just shaking as he's pouring it. Really bad the first time. He just pours everywhere. The second time, it's less of a shake. And he pours it. So this time, he does his old little routine, and William comes back. But this is where you need to notice. William is older. You got a young William, and now you have a more weathered William. He's got some gray in him. He's not looking so good. They're having a conversation, and they expand what we're seeing just a little farther. We find out it's been 7 years since all this went down, and he didn't make it. James didn't make it. And this is actually like a replica of him. I don't know how they did it. We haven't figured that part out yet, because we'll get that in the other timeline. But this is James Delios and him thinking he's alive. So he thinks he can get out. Lo and behold, while his whole time in this facility in these 7 years, his wife has passed away. So now he's lost his wife in the same time, and he is still trying to figure out what is going on with himself, but William will not let him go because he keeps having this like little weird twitch thing at the end. So the next time we get to him, he's there and he still looks the same, but in walks William, and it's not William, it's the Man in Black. It's Ed Harris. So you know it's been some years. And it has been some years. And the first things that James says to him is, of course, he cusses at him, is like, "Who are you?" And like, "What are you doing here?" When he is shocked and realizes that this is actual William, and it's been so many years, he already goes into a speech that he figured it out, and this and this and this, and you figured out a way to help me. But William, the Man in Black at this time, is not really down for all this anymore. So he's been trying to bring back his father-in-law for over 40 years now, and they have figured out some sort of way to basically like take a body print and imprint his conscience into this half human, half host android that they created, and hopefully to bring back James Delios back to life. Well, after all these years, they've been unsuccessful 149 times. And each time he gets a little farther, but he always fails at a certain point. And William attested to basically like his body rejecting or reality rejecting that he's still alive, that he can't live forever. So James Delios was trying to cheat death and figure out a way to live forever. There's another person that tried to cheat death and live forever, and that's Dr. Ford, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But with this whole revelation, it just shows that Delios on the side has been trying to do something. So they tried for 149 times. It's been unsuccessful. This last time when William goes in there, it's been 35 days since this gentleman's been alive this time. And it's gone good, but each time he gets to a certain point and he starts stuttering and he can't do it anymore. Also, if you notice when he gets to this part with the cream, his hand doesn't shake. He just pours the cream and he's good to go. But William the Man in Black is tired of this. His wife has committed suicide and killed herself. His daughter is the only one alive. Everybody else is gone, and he doesn't need to know why he keeps going about this. So he just is cold-hearted, leaves this dude alive, and tells the person that's been monitoring this whole time, no, let him live in there. This will come back later. So he's just cold-blooded at this point because he's been dealing with it for years, and he don't want to deal with this no more. And he's basically like, no one should live forever. So that was definitely some really cool throwback stuff. Now, let's get to Bernard and Elsie. We'll call it Bernard, and then we'll talk about Bernard and Elsie. So we catch up with Bernard, and he's being dragged by Clementine. He gets left in this little hole. Bernard's all distraught and doesn't know what's going on. He goes inside, and lo and behold, Elsie is alive. So here we thought that Bernard killed her a la Teresa like last season. Actually, didn't happen. She's alive. She's got a chain around him, and she's been living there with a bucket and some food and some power bars that he kept her there, and she's alive. She's also terrified of him, and he's trying to convince her, look, it wasn't me. It was Ford controlling me. I don't remember everything. So he frees her. She's all distraught and still doesn't trust him. He's like, look, we got to get out of here. So they're about to leave, and then she's like, look, we're in the middle of nowhere. And Bernard starts having these crazy, weird memories. And this is where the show is designing themselves to confuse the living mess out of you. They are purposely showing Bernard in 3 different outfits. Also, they're making you question and judge what you're actually seeing because Bernard is questioning and judging what he's seeing. So if he's questioning what he's seeing, then why the audience is definitely going to be questioning what they're seeing and not realizing if it's current, past, or future, because we have no idea because Bernard's memories, like Elsie finds out, are just all scattered about, and so his memories are everywhere. They're just all scattered. So we watch Bernard watch himself walk back into this cave, and he's like, wait a second, we gotta go back into this cave. Then he watches another version of himself find a secret passageway and open up this passageway, and Elsie's freaking out this whole time. So they open up this secret passageway, and we find one of these little laboratories like him and Charlotte were in that is actually run and controlled by Delios, except this one's a little different in a lot of ways. First off, all the people are dead. There's 3 engineers/scientists in there, and they're all bloody and dead everywhere. And then there are also 3 different of those weird drone hosts, and they're dead everywhere. So they go in, things are smashed, everything's weird. Elsie starts seeing all this weird stuff, sees that the encryption is different, starts seeing all these weird motherboards and things that create things that she's never supposed to see. And at the same time, Bernard's having all these weird flashbacks and memories. So Bernard knows he's been here at some point, but just has no idea what it is. Elsie finds this door that is locked, and she's trying to get into it. At the same time, Bernard is like racking his brain, trying to figure out where everything is going on and where everything is. He's questioning himself, if Elsie's really there, where he's at. See, this is where they're messing with you. So just watch the close. The close are the trigger. Basically, what we find out is Elsie blows open the door, and this is actually the facility where they were keeping James Delios, and he's still alive. So he lived past that initial time whenever, I don't know, we don't know when the Man in Black saw him last, and his face is all scarred up and he's gone crazy. So they see him in there, he's just gone crazy. Elsie and them go out and light the thing up and terminate him, take him out of his misery, and go on about it. At the same time, Bernard starts to figure out what they were doing in this facility. Basically, they figured out that they were making these CPUs, like these for making what James Delios, and they were making this ability to try to make someone never die. Basically never die. Like taking their consciousness and their body print and printing it on one of their new Android/host and making this person live forever, have the memories and thoughts and everything of this person. He also knows that he made one for someone else. Ford sent him there and make one. So now we're starting to think, I thought in season 1 Ford didn't die. And then I saw his body, so I thought he was dead. But I think that was just a coup, and Ford is still alive. Because Ford sent Bernard to get one of these CPUs for him. So if he sent him there before all this happened, and then told Bernard to kill all the people in there so they couldn't see anything and destroy everything, as you watch the memory as Bernard is telling the drones to kill everybody and move on, that's what they do. So I think that Dr. Ford is still alive and that there's something more deeper to this, and he might be trying to find eternal life also. Woo! That was definitely a ton going on in this episode. It was cool. We get to see Elsie. We get to see what happens with the culmination of James Delios. I mean, this just was a great episode showing a lot of different stuff. Cannot wait. We're almost at the halfway point. We're going to finally get a brand new world, and we're going to get all embedded into Shogun World next week. Cannot wait. All right, guys. There you go. There's your recap review of the Riddle of the Sphinx. Until next time, guys. Good night, Ted.